Welcome to the first video lecture on power system operation and control. We were dealing with module 2 in the class. We were left out with two topics from module 2. One is parallel operation of generators, the other one is speed governors. So first let us finish off with parallel operation of generators, then move on to speed governors, then we'll switch over to module number 3. So coming to parallel operation of generators, first before understanding the parallel operation, you need to understand the droop characteristics of the generator. You can see the first graph here which says droop characteristics of the generator. So this is a plot of frequency versus load on the generator. On the x-axis you can see load on the generator expressed in per unit, and on the y-axis you can see frequency expressed in hertz. This droop characteristic of the generator generally says that whenever there is an increase in the load demand, there is a drop in frequency. You can see this particular graph here. As and when the load increases on the x-axis, along the y-axis you can see the frequency goes on reducing. This is the typical response to the load disturbance. That is nothing but whenever there is an increase in the load demand, there is a drop in frequency in the system. Now let us see the definition of regulation. Regulation is defined by delta F by delta P. Delta refers to change. So delta F is nothing but change in frequency. Delta P is nothing but change in load demand on the generator. So regulation is the ratio of change in frequency caused due to the change in demand in the system. To be specific, it says unit change in frequency due to the unit change in load demand. It can also be expressed in per unit by dividing the actual value by base value. Base frequency is 50 Hz and P rated is nothing but the rated power. So when you divide delta P by rated power, you get the per unit quantity of power, and here frequency delta F divided by 50, you get the per unit quantity of frequency. So ultimately you are going to get the regulation in per unit. And then we have to understand what exactly we mean by this droop. Basically, if you take for example, we say that a particular generator has got 5% droop. So 5% droop generator means the allowable variation in speed of the generator is 5% of the nominal speed whenever there is a change in load demand. I repeat, whenever there is an increase in the load demand or decrease in the load demand, the speed is going to vary. And that variation is in speed is 5% of the nominal speed. It might be plus 5% or it might be minus 5% depending upon whether it is positive load disturbance or negative load disturbance. So now we are clear with droop characteristics of generator, that is variation of generator load with respect to frequency. That is when load varies, frequency is going to drop, and then we have understood what's the definition of regulation, and we have seen what do you exactly mean by that value of droop. Now let us begin with parallel operation of generators. In this there are two cases. First case is identical generators with different speed settings. What we exactly mean by identical generators is we are having two generators, as you can see here, G1, G2, which are serving the load demand. G1 and G2 are connected in parallel and together they are meeting the load demand. So identical generators means these two generators are having the same droop characteristics. For example, it might be 5% droop or 3% droop or whatever. Both are having same droop characteristics. And here it says with different speed settings. Different speed settings in the sense the initial valve position setting of the steam valve could be quite different. For example, the steam valve input position setting allows the quantity of steam to hit the turbine. Maybe for attaining the same speed of the rotor, one steam valve might be open by 30%. The other in the other machine, it might be 50%. That is nothing but it's like a door which allows the steam into the turbine. One door is allowing 30% of the steam to enter and hit the turbine. The other door is allowing 50% of the steam to enter and hit the turbine. So that is what we mean by different speed settings. Though it is achieving the same speed, the valve adjustment differs. That's why we call it as different speed settings. Identical generators means, as I told you right now, it has got same droop characteristic. So here you can observe the particular curve. Both generator 1 and generator 2 are having the same slope. They are having identical droop. Say some X% droop for generator 1 and generator 2. Here in this graph you can see on y-axis you are having frequency, on x-axis you are having generator load expressed in per unit. Here you are having 4 operating points, A1, A2, B1, B2. First let us consider at normal operation, that is when the frequency is 50 Hz and when there is no load disturbance. I hope you remember load disturbance means increase in the load demand or decrease in the load demand, which will deviate the frequency. Our intention is always to maintain nominal frequency. So at a nominal value, that is 50 Hz, there is no disturbance and generator 1 will be operating at point A1 and the operating point of generator 2 is A2. On this particular curve, I repeat once again, generator 1 is at A1, generator 2 is at A2, and you can see it is 50 Hz. So what we mean by this, A1 means on the x-axis you can see 0.25 per unit, A2 on the x-axis you can see 0.75 per unit. That means at 50 Hz frequency, generator 1 is taking 25% of the load and generator 2 is taking 75% of the load demand. Now let us say the second case, whenever there is an increase in the load demand. Say there is an increase in the load demand by additional 50%. Till now the load was 100%. Let us take it has increased to 150% of the actual value or 1.5 per unit. Now you can see as soon as there is an increase in the load demand, the frequency of the system drops to a new value f1. We are not typically discussing the value here. We are not talking about the ratings. The frequency reduces from 50 to a new value f1. So now the operating point also is going to differ. As you can see, generator 1 now will be operating at a new point B1. Generator 2 will be operating at B2. So as a consequence, now you can see since they are operating at B1 and B2, generator 1 is handling 50% of the load demand and generator 2 is handling 100% of the load demand. 100% total load happens to be 150%, so 100% is being handled by generator 2, 50% is being handled by generator 1, or to be more specific, generator 1 is taking 0.5 per unit, generator 2 is taking 1 per unit. So the observation that you have to make here is generator 2 is at its uppermost limit. So it has taken all the 100% of its capacity. Now furthermore, if the load demand increases, that is case 3, then what is going to happen? Automatically generator 2 will be overloaded and generator 1 may share some significant amount of load. So when the generator 2 is overloaded beyond its capacity, automatically further there will be drop in frequency and the parallel operation of the generators is not successful here in this case because the sharing of load is not proportional. One of the generator is overloaded, the other one is underloaded. So this is it with case 1, identical generators with different speed settings. Now let us take case 2, which is two dissimilar generators operating in parallel. So two dissimilar generators means both the generators are having different droop characteristic. Say this slope of this particular generator is quite different from this particular generator. For example, this might be 3% droop and this might be 5% or 6% droop. Both these generators are operating parallel, but here in this case the initial steam valve opening percentage is same in both the generators. So now you can see here this first line represents nominal frequency. Obviously this represents some other frequency other than nominal value. So initially under normal operating conditions, both the generators are operating at A1 and A2 operating points. Then later on as the load demand increases, the frequency is going to reduce and the operating point of generator 1 will be B1 and generator 2 will be P2. See, the concept that is common in both the cases are whenever there is an increase in the load demand, there is a drop in frequency. So now you have understood A1, A2, B1 and B2 operating points. Under what circumstance you will be getting those operating points shifted. Now on the x-axis you can see here, this is P1 naught. P1 naught means initial load demand, and this particular point where nothing is named, this is final load demand. Similarly, P2 naught is the initial load demand of generator 2 and this is the final value. So final value minus initial value will give you the change in load demand, which is called as delta P1, and here it is delta P2 for the second generator. And the last point here is P1 rated, which is uppermost capacity of generator 1, P2 rated, uppermost capacity of generator 2. Now let us go to the expression for regulation. Already we have defined regulation. It is the ratio of change in frequency to the change in load demand. So with respect to the first machine, it is delta F divided by delta P1. Now if you are trying to express them in per unit, obviously it will be delta F divided by 50, delta P1 divided by P1 rated. As you know, per unit is nothing but actual value by base value. Now here, instead of calling it as delta F by 50, I'll straight away write it as delta F per unit, which is understood that it is divided by its base value. But I'm not going to do it for power here, because frequency usually is common factor for machines operating parallel. I can take the comfort of writing delta F per unit. Similarly, when you take the second machine, R2 is given by delta F by 50 divided by delta P2 divided by P2 rated. Again here also I'll express frequency in per unit. So it becomes delta F, instead of writing delta F by 50, straight away I'll write delta F per unit divided by delta P2 by P2 rated. Now I'll just rearrange this expression and I'll get an expression for delta F per unit, which is given by R1 into delta P1 by P1 rated, and here delta F is equal to R2 into delta P2 divided by P2 rated. So on both the sides we are having delta F, which is the deviation in frequency. Since both the machines are operating in parallel, whenever they are connected in parallel, they will be operating at common frequency. So we can straight away equate these two. So R1 into delta P1 by P1 rated is equal to R2 into delta P2 by P2 rated. Now again I'm trying to take the ratio of delta P1 by delta P2, rearrange this expression, you get R2 by R1 into P1 rated by P2 rated. So this is the final expression. So from this expression we can understand that in the second case, when two dissimilar generators are operating in parallel, the load sharing is proportional to their ratings. Ratings in the sense, load sharing is proportional to their capacities. Unlike the first method, in the first method, you could see that whenever there was an increase in the load demand, one of the generator used to be overloaded. But here it does not happen so, because the load is being shared proportional to the capacity of the machine. None of the machines will be overloaded or underloaded. So this is it with parallel operation of generators. So far we have seen parallel operation of generators case 1 and case 2. See, in these concepts you'll take a graph and try to explain the phenomenon. So there is nothing to do with any detailed working or anything like that. You take a graph and try to depict the case study, what exactly is happening there. Now after completing the parallel operation of generators, since both the machines are operating in parallel, we will have to define the regulation of the overall system. Earlier we have defined R1 and R2, which are regulations for machine 1 and machine 2. Now since they are working in parallel, it has to be considered as a single system called as parallel system, and we'll have to take the regulation of parallel system. Generally, we start with the definition for regulation, which is the ratio of delta F by delta P, which is deviation in frequency due to the change in load demand. Here, generator 1 and generator 2 are operating in parallel. So, in the earlier graph, you have seen that change in load demand for the first machine is delta P1, change in load demand for the second machine is delta P2. So the total load change is delta P1 plus delta P2, taking both the machines into consideration. Delta F divided by delta P1 plus delta P2. We have nothing to do with delta F because both the systems are in parallel. Frequency remains constant and frequency remains common to both of them. Now what I'll be doing is, in place of delta P1, I'll be substituting from equations 1 and 2. In the previous sheet, we have seen the expressions for regulation in case 2. From that, I'll be substituting for delta P1, which is given by delta F into P1 rated divided by R1 plus delta F into P2 rated divided by R2. So if you simplify this, delta F gets cancelled. You'll be left out with 1 over P1 rated by R1 plus P2 rated by R2, and the unit for regulation is inverse of megawatt or 1 over megawatt. Then sometimes we are also interested in expressing this regulation of the system in per unit. So generally you know that whenever you try to express per unit quantity, it is actual divided by base. But here, since the actual value is expressed as a reciprocal, we multiply the base value with the actual value. Okay, so it becomes R system actual value multiplied by base value. Base value is with respect to the base power because you are dealing with the power here. So it will become P1 rated plus P2 rated. This is the base power multiplied by the actual value will give me the per unit value. Now it completes with the parallel operation of generators. Let us take up a problem on parallel operation of generators. So here, let me read the statement first. Two synchronous generators are supplying a common load at 1 per unit frequency. The rating of unit 1 is 337 megawatt and has 0.03 per unit droop built into its governor. Unit 2 is rated at 420 megawatt and has 0.05 per unit droop. Find each unit's share of 0.1 per unit increase in load demand and find the new operating frequency. See, this problem is not straightforward as it is like you have seen any other substitution problem. Line by line you'll have to understand and then start solving. So here first let us see, two synchronous generators are supplying a common load. Two synchronous generators are supplying a common load means we are talking about parallel operation at 1 per unit frequency. 1 per unit frequency means it is 50 Hz, that is nominal operation is going on. Rating of unit 1 is 337 megawatt and has 0.03 per unit droop built into its governor. That means here you can see given data, generator 1, its power capacity is 337 megawatt and it has got 3% droop. 0.03 per unit is nothing but 3% droop. Similarly, unit 2 is rated at 420 megawatt and has 0.05 per unit droop, which means generator 2 420 megawatt 5% droop. Then find each unit's share of 0.1 per unit increase in load demand. That means the increase in load demand is 0.1 per unit, which I'll call it as delta L, which is change in demand is equal to 0.1 per unit. Then he says find the new operating frequency. Why are we supposed to take new operating frequency? The reason is there is an increase in the load demand. Whenever there is an increase in the load demand, may it be one generator or two generators, there will be a drop in frequency. So what is that amount by which there is a drop in frequency, you'll have to find, and after there is a drop in frequency, it will settle at a new value. That new value you are supposed to find. So first we have taken the given data. Generator 1 337 megawatt 3% droop, generator 2 420 megawatt 5% droop, delta L is equal to 0.1 per unit. Now I'll be using the expression that we have just derived before, which is regulation of generators in parallel. You know the expression is P1 rated plus P2 rated divided by P1 rated by R1 plus P2 rated by R2 in per unit. So since all our values are given in per unit here, especially the regulation is generally given in per unit here, I would prefer to take the formula with respect to per unit. So this is the formula. In place of P1 rated, I take 337. In place of P2 rated, I take 420. Regulation of the first machine is 3% droop, which is 0.03, and second machine is 0.05. If you calculate this, you'll be getting minus 0.0386 per unit. Then This is the regulation of the generators that are operating in parallel. Now I'll have to find out the frequency drift due to the increase in load demand. There is a change in frequency which is decrease in frequency because of this increase in load demand. So you very well know that delta F is equal to R system into delta L. That is, regulation multiplied by change in demand is delta F. I'm not using any new formula here. You know the definition of regulation is delta F by delta P. Instead of calling it as delta P, I've called it as delta L here. So regulation of the system, we have got it as minus 0.0386 and delta L is given, which is 0.1, and this is going to give us the result minus 0.00386 per unit. Okay, next we'll have to calculate the actual frequency drift. We had calculated the frequency drift in per unit. Now if you want the actual value, obviously you'll have to multiply per unit value with base value. Base frequency is always 50 Hertz. So you are getting delta F actual as minus 0.193 Hertz. You are having a negative sign here. That does not mean frequency is negative. It indicates that there is a drop in frequency. Logically speaking, you should always take the magnitude of frequency, which is 0.193 Hertz. This negative sign indicates drop in frequency. So because of this 0.1 per unit increase in demand, there is a drop in frequency by 0.193 Hertz. So new operating frequency will be equal to 50 minus 0.193, which is 49.807. We have understood that the frequency has reduced by 0.193. So obviously new operating frequency will be 50 minus 0.193, which is equal to 49.807 Hertz. Now also we'll have to calculate the load shared by respective units. See, since you are dealing with parallel operation of the generators, there is an increase in the demand on the parallel system. How that is being shared by the respective generators has to be calculated. So R1 is given by delta F by delta P1. We know this formula. So from this, delta P1 will be equal to delta F by R1. First we always try to calculate it in per unit, then convert it to actual. So we already have got delta F in per unit as minus 0.00386 divided by regulation of the first machine, which is 3%, 0.03. So if you divide this, you get 0.129 per unit. Now I am interested in actual value. For getting actual value, per unit value must be multiplied with base. Base is nothing but the rating of the machine, which is 337. So you get 43.47 megawatt. Similarly, calculations have been done for second machine and we'll end up at 32.42 megawatt. So whenever there is an increase in the load demand by 0.1 per unit, the respective increase is shared by both the units in this proportion. So first machine is taking 43.47 megawatt and second machine is taking 32.42 megawatt. So the total change in demand was basically 43.47 plus 32.42, and this is the respective share. So whenever you are given a problem on parallel operation of generators, first you will start with regulation of the parallel system, calculate the per unit value, calculate the actual value, then taking that, calculate the deviation in frequency in per unit, then calculate deviation in frequency in Hertz, that is actual value, then calculate new operating frequency. Once this is done, calculate the load shared by respective units. Once you work out this problem step by step, you will get the clarity. Now I'll come to the last topic of module 2, which is speed governor. So this is the typical sketch of speed governor. Speed governor, actually speaking, I had covered in the class already, but since it's a continuation for module 3, if you understand speed governor here, then it will be easy for me to explain the mathematical modeling in module 3. So I'm repeating speed governor here. So in this speed governor, basically there are 4 parts. Linkage mechanism A, B, C, D, E. So here you can see the linkage mechanism A, B, C, D, E. Next part is speed changer. So this is the speed changer. Then flyball speed governor. This is flyball speed governor. Last one is hydraulic amplifier. This system is hydraulic amplifier. and here on the top you can see this is the inlet valve where the steam passes to the turbine. From the boiler, the steam is coming from this particular direction, and here you are having the inlet valve which will allow how much steam should pass to the turbine. So further from here it is going to go to the turbine. So for example, if this particular inlet valve, it's like a door, this door allows how much quantity of steam should go to the turbine. If it is partially open, part of the steam will go to the turbine. If it is 100% open, 100% steam will enter into the turbine. Now let us see the coordination of each of these parts whenever there is a load disturbance. Before that, first we should understand the features or speciality of each of the part. So first let us come to linkage mechanism A, B, C, D, E. As the name says, it is just linking the various parts of the speed governor. Here, link C and link E are basically rigidly fixed. Rigidly fixed in the sense they will not be able to move. But A, B and D are flexible links and they can move in upward and downward direction. So that particular metal link is basically flexible. So this is it with linkage mechanism. Next we'll see speed changer. So when it comes to speed changer, here you can see the speed changer. It is just having a slider here. This slider will has the option of moving upwards and downwards. Slider can be moved upwards or downwards. Whenever there is a requirement to reduce the speed of the machine, the slider will move upwards. As you can see lower here. Here you can see rise. Whenever there is a need to increase the speed of the machine, slider moves downwards. And obviously, whenever the slide moves upwards or downwards, since it is mechanically linked with linkage A also will move accordingly, upwards and downwards. So this is it with speed changer. Ultimately, you should know that whenever the speed has to be reduced, slider moves upwards. Whenever the speed has to be increased, slider moves downwards. Then the third part is fly ball speed governor. This arrangement is fly ball speed governor. Typically, it is a sensor. The objective of this sensor is to sense the change in speed of the generating machine. So the rotor of the generator is directly connected to the electrical load. Whenever you very well know the concept that whenever there is an increase in the load demand, there is a decrease in the speed of the machine. That decrease in the speed will be sensed by this particular mechanism. Here you are having a spring in between G1 and G2. Here the sensing mechanism goes this way. Whenever there is an increase in the speed of the machine, the spring elongates, that is G1 and G2 will move outwards, that is the spring expands, and consequently B, the linkage mechanism B, will be brought downwards. So since the spring expands, obviously this B will move downwards. On the other hand, whenever there is a decrease in the speed of the machine, the spring gets compressed, thereby pushing B upwards. So ultimately, when it comes to flyball speed governor, when the speed increases, G1 and G2 moves outwards, and when the speed decreases, G1 and G2 will get compressed, thereby resulting in movement of B. This is it with flyball speed governor. Next we'll go for hydraulic amplifier. See, when it comes to hydraulic amplifier, it is trying to amplify the pressure that is involved. Basically, we'll be having two types of amplifiers. One is hydraulic, the other one is pneumatic. In pneumatic amplifiers, we'll be using air as the medium. Here you'll be using oil. Oil is the one which will be compressed at high pressure, and that will amplify the movement of the piston. So coming to hydraulic amplifier, here you can see it starts from point D. From point D, you are having a pilot valve, and here you are having an inlet for the high pressure oil. So the high pressure oil required for this amplification will enter into this chamber through this particular point, and this is the pilot valve, and this is the oil chamber. Some excess oil sometimes will be stored in this oil chamber, and this is the main piston, which is actually mechanically linked to the inlet valve over here, and it is fixed at E. So here whenever due to some impact the pilot valve moves downwards, there is a pressure built up in this oil that is accumulated in the chamber. Due to that pressure, the main piston moves upwards, blocking this steam. On the other hand, whenever this pilot valve moves upwards, the pressure is released in the chamber and automatically main piston moves downwards, thereby allowing the steam to pass to the turbine. So this is the operation of hydraulic amplifier. So to be specific, whenever the pilot valve moves downwards, due to the pressure main piston moves upwards, thereby it will block the steam. If the pressure is, when the pilot valve moves upwards, pressure is released, main piston comes down, and then steam is left to go to the turbine. So now we have understood the operation of linkage mechanism, speed changer, flyball speed governor, and hydraulic amplifier. Now we'll have to see the coordination of all these parts, how they are done whenever there is a disturbance. Again, disturbance is nothing but change in load demand. Either it is increase in the load demand or decrease in the load demand. So let us take the first case when there is an increase in the load demand. We well know that whenever there is an increase in the load demand, the speed is going to reduce. So immediately once the speed reduces, flyball speed governor is the one that is going to sense that the speed has reduced. Already we know the operation. When the speed reduces, the spring gets compressed, and there is a, due to this compression, the beam moves upwards. So what has happened here? The speed has reduced below 50 Hertz, which is not desirable. 50 Hertz in the sense, you know that speed and frequency are directly proportional parameters. Nominal speed will be with respect to 50 Hertz. So if the speed has reduced, automatically frequency has reduced below 50 Hertz. So now as a response to this, the speed has to be increased. It has to be brought back to the nominal speed such that the frequency also will be brought back to 50 Hertz. For that, the speed changer will try to raise the speed of the machine. Because the speed of the machine has reduced, it tries to rise. So if it has to rise, the slider has to come down. So when the slider comes down, automatically it will put A also downwards. A also is going to move downwards. Since A moves downwards, on the other side, since A and D are flexible and C is fixed in between, because of that mechanical action, D is pulled upwards. When A moves downwards, forcefully D is pulled upwards. Once D is pulled upwards, automatically the pressure built in this chamber is completely released. Once the pressure is released, automatically the main piston comes down. Once the main piston comes down, more steam is going to hit the turbine. Say for example, this main piston was covering this inlet chamber by 70%. Now since the pressure is released here, main piston comes down. Now it might come to 30%, so that more steam can enter the turbine. If more steam enters the turbine, turbine will rotate at higher speed, and thereby, since it is coupled to the generator, speed will increase. So this is how the system reacts to load disturbance. So far we were talking about positive load disturbance, which is nothing but increase in load demand. Next we'll see negative load disturbance. That is just exactly the opposite phenomenon. Say let us assume there is a drop in load demand in the system. Whenever there is a drop in load demand in the system, automatically the speed of the machine is going to increase. When the speed increases, that will be sensed by this sensor, which is a speed governor, and G1 and G2 gets elongated. Once G1 and G2 gets elongated, obviously it will bring B downwards. So what has happened here? The speed has increased beyond the nominal value. So consequently, frequency has also increased beyond 50 Hertz. Now the next action is you have to bring back the speed to nominal speed, and also the frequency should be, which has crossed 50 Hertz, should come back to 50 Hertz. It has increased beyond 50, it should come back to 50. So what should happen? The speed has to be reduced. So the slider will be now moving upwards so that the speed will be reduced. Slider is going to move upwards. Once the slider is going to move upwards, automatically A also will be dragged upwards. On the other side, D will be pressurized downwards. Since A is pulled upwards, on the opposite side D will go downwards. Once the D will go downwards, it will apply pressure. It will start pushing in here. It will apply pressure in this particular oil chamber system. Thereby, due to that pressure, main piston is going to move upwards. Once the main piston is going to move upwards, it tends to create a hurdle, or it's trying to block this particular inlet valve. Thereby, the amount of steam that is going to enter to the turbine will reduce. If the amount of steam entering to the turbine will reduce, automatically the turbine speed will reduce, and then the generator speed also is going to reduce, and thereby you can see that the frequency is restored. So this is the overall operation of the speed governor. So this completes module 2. So in module 2, in this particular video, we have covered parallel operation of generators and then speed governor. And we have seen one particular problem on parallel operation of generators. And so far in the earlier question papers, we have seen this particular variety of problem alone, though the numbers have changed here and there. So it is good enough if you just prepare this kind of problem. Here in this particular subject, there is a conceptual approach. So not much weightage is given to the variety of problems here. It just is to depict the concept. So I conclude with module 2, and in the next video I'll be starting with module 3.